I'm not a cybersecurity expert, but I play one on TV. Today I've put together 5 tips that will really help you have some common sense and really just think about what you do and how you use technology when you're traveling. So next time you're thinking about using the airplane Wi-Fi or plugging your phone into an unknown USB port at the airport, you'll have some better tools and better understanding of how you should handle those situations. So I'm sort of obsessed with cybersecurity. I read articles about this all the time and I become more and more paranoid, and it gets worse and worse over time. But rest assured, we are doing everything we can here at True North to help protect you and the sensitive data that you have entrusted to us. Okay, so tip number 1 is having a strong password on all of your devices. So on your iPhone, on your iPad, on your work laptop, if you're taking that with you when you travel, it's very important to have a strong password. So if you don't have a password, bad. If your password is 1234, you should change that right away. So there are lots of security measures and things that you can do to keep your data safe. And one of the most important things is just to protect yourself if your phone gets stolen or your laptop gets stolen. So that means having a good, strong password and also placing an auto lock on your device. So if your phone is idle for, say, a minute, or whatever that length of time, the shorter the better. Even though it's inconvenient for you to have to unlock your phone all the time, it really prevents you, or it really protects you if someone were to steal your phone or steal your laptop and it's locked and you have a really good password on there. So tip number 2, and actually this one surprised me quite a bit, is don't charge your devices in public on unknown ports. So there's a great article for this, and I will post all of the articles that I've used for researching this topic, because again, I'm not a cybersecurity expert, I just know enough to be dangerous. But I did a lot of research for this blog post and saw a lot of recurring themes, and then I also saw some things that really surprised me. So one of the things that really surprised me was that it's not a good idea ever to plug in your device, if you don't have to, into especially an unknown USB port. So a good example that comes to mind is sometimes these are in airports where you have like a charging station. I see them a lot at conferences where, as a way for people to attract people to their booth, they'll put those little charging stations. And that's apparently, I just figured this out, that's a big no-no. So you really shouldn't be plugging in or tethering your devices into anything that's unknown. So a best practice for this when you're out in public is 2 things. One is the technology has really improved. So you can actually buy a battery pack. I can buy a battery pack on Amazon for the phone that I have that will charge my phone for over 4 times before the battery pack itself runs out of juice. So that gives me, if I'm traveling for a conference or something, I'm not having to plug into some airport, unknown USB port. I'm not having to plug into something that I'm unaware of. So if you want to be extra careful and not plug into anything foreign, that would definitely be the way to go there. If you are going to plug your device in public, one of the articles that I read is the safest way to do this is to use your own USB plug that came with your device, and then plug that directly into a wall outlet. So that would be the way to go if you were going to use your device or needing to charge it in public. So just be mindful of that. Tip number 3 is updating your operating system on your phone, iPad, laptop, and your antivirus security software if you have a laptop or something like that before you leave. So I know it's really annoying. I always hit snooze snooze every time. I think I haven't, my iPhone's trying to prompt me to update the operating system for like a month now. And I think a lot of us do this where we put it off. But it's really important to do it, especially before you travel, because a lot of the security updates are in those operating system updates. And that was one of the most common themes that I saw across all the different sources that I read in doing research for this, is that it's really important to keep that up to date when you travel, because it's going to have the latest patches and the latest security features in there to help protect you. Tip number 4. Now, this one may seem kind of obvious. This is the one thing that I'm always really, really mindful of in public, whether I'm doing something private or not, is that whether you're on your phone, your laptop, whatever it is that you're doing, it's really important to just get in the habit of always sitting somewhere or being somewhere where whoever is around can't see. Wind's picking up. Sorry about that. Whoever is nearby can't see what you're doing. So I always do this regardless. And usually I try not to do, I'm not doing anything sensitive in public. Usually when I'm working in public, I'm doing things where I don't care if someone did see what I was doing. It wouldn't be a big deal. I'm not checking my bank account. I'm not logging on to some sensitive website where I could expose my information or somebody else's. But it's always a best practice to always sit yourself, if you're going to work in a coffee shop or if you're in a restaurant or something like that, or an airport, always sit yourself, if you're going to do work, where no one can see what you're doing. And I see people offending this all the time. I'll see people working in a coffee shop or an airport, and they have their email pulled up, and you may think that this is a small thing, but there's a lot of sensitive information that could be in your email, or you're writing back and forth, or they might be shopping online. Well, if you're shopping online, you don't want other people to potentially see any of your credit card information or your address or anything like that. So it's just a really good idea to always plop yourself somewhere in public where no one can see. So when you go to Europe this summer and you're hanging out in the piazza in Rome, maybe not a good idea to do some work or check your True North accounts while you're sitting there in a very public place. So just be mindful of what's going on behind you, who might be behind you, and try to sit yourself always somewhere where no one else could potentially see what you're doing. My last tip, and probably the most important, is never use public Wi-Fi. And there are exceptions to this, but that's probably the biggest entry point where hackers can get in and get access to your data. So a lot of people will say, well, just use a secure network. Well, that has a password or something like that, and that's fine. But if you just want to keep things simple and really protect yourself, there's no reason and there's no excuse, because you have other options. You always have other options. So 2 alternatives to public Wi-Fi. One is a mobile hotspot on your phone. That's what a lot of the security experts recommend. If you have an iPhone like me, a lot of the smartphones these days allow you to use your phone's data connection as your Wi-Fi. So I could work in public, instead of logging on to the Wi-Fi at the coffee shop that I'm at, I can actually log into a mobile hotspot on my phone, and I'm the only one that's encrypted. Nobody can see what I'm doing, what I'm typing, or anything like that. So that's a lot more secure than any public Wi-Fi is. The other thing is a VPN. That's beyond the scope of this conversation, so if you're curious about that, you should Google it. That's another easy and relatively secure way to get internet when you're in a public place. So mobile hotspots on your phone, VPNs, with those, there's really no excuse why you would need to log in to a public Wi-Fi network. That means not using Wi-Fi in coffee shops, in restaurants, in airports, hotels, even your hotel Wi-Fi. So it's really easy for a hacker to pose as a legitimate Wi-Fi source. So for example, maybe you're in Portland Airport and the Wi-Fi network name is PDX_airport. Well, a hacker could be sitting right next to you. They've established their own Wi-Fi connection and they've named it something really similar to what the legitimate airport Wi-Fi is. And so that would be a scenario where you'd want to be really careful about which Wi-Fi you're connecting to. And that's why it's so important that if you have the option, just use your own VPN or mobile hotspot. If you're going to log into a public Wi-Fi network, you should just assume that everybody in the room, everyone around you, everybody in the entire airport or hotel can see what you're doing. So if it passes that test, then yeah, go ahead and do it. But you shouldn't be emailing, you shouldn't be shopping online, you shouldn't be logging into sensitive websites or data, whether it's your own financial data or data where there's customer or client information. Like, these are all big no-nos to do on a public Wi-Fi network. Thanks for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. Like this video if you thought it was useful. Was this useful information? Do you have other tips for staying safe when you're traveling from a security and cybersecurity standpoint? I'd love to hear what works for you. Lastly, I would just say we care so much about protecting our clients and making sure that you and your data are secure. As you all probably realize, identity theft, having someone steal your data, having someone fraudulently hack your email, these are expensive things to fix. And the last thing we want is for something like that to happen to you. So we want you to be safe. We want to protect you. We want you to be secure. Your data, your financial stuff, we want all that to be locked down. Lucy, come here. Today's topic is 5 tips to prevent cyber attacks by Lucy the Dachshund. Okay.